Hi everyone, I'm Megan and welcome back to another lab video for Analytics and Decision Sciences 1493 Professional Analytics. In this lab, I will be investigating debugging tools in the Visual Basics editor. I based the material presented today off of VBA for Modelers, the 5th edition by Christian Albright, and Ivey case 9B11E020 by Dennis Lee, which you can find on Ivey Publishing through the link provided below. Please open Excel and follow along as we get started.
The VBA editor supplies us with numerous debugging tools. These tools allow us to locate bugs easier and then streamline our coding process. Breaks are points inserted into code to stop the computer when it reaches the break. They are useful when you want to pause an operation at a specific point. So, for example, the code in the subtitled debug code, so our first one here, is an infinite loop due to the line of I is equal to I minus 1. So, to investigate this issue, we can insert a break by clicking on the left edge of the code corresponding to the line I is equal to I minus 1. So once it is highlighted, it indicates that the break has been inserted into our code. So when we run this sub and the computer reaches the break, the operations stop before the line of I is equal to I minus 1. So if we run this, and then we hover over our sum, we can see that our loop has ran one time because our sum is equal to 1 and 0 plus I is going to be 0 plus 1, which is 1. So this is a useful feature in VBA. Another useful feature is to see the value of a variable when hovering over the variable, which is what I just did here. So if we wanted to debug more complex code, we can insert multiple breaks and track the value of our variable as the loop progresses. So, just going to stop that, and now we're going to look at the debugging tab. So the debugging tab in VBA allows the user to run code step by step. So we can find it if we go to View, and then we have Toolbars, and then under Toolbars we have Debug. So now we can see that our Debug toolbar pops up, and from this we can run our code line by line. So to do this, it allows us to track changes that are made to the variable with each line. So step into is our line by line. So if we run that, we can go line by line here, and we can see that our sum is equal to 1, and then our I is equal to 1. So then if we run this again, we have our sum is equal to 2, and our I is still equal to 1. So that's what is causing our infinite loop in this case. So if we get out of our debug window here, and then we stop running our code, we can now look at the locals window. So the locals window allows users to monitor the variables in the program as the code is run. So if we were to combine this with breaks, we can see the state of variables at particular points in the code. So to view this locals window, we select View, and then we go over to Toolbars. So we select View, and then the locals window is right here in the middle. So as you can see, we now have the intermediate window, which we can close, and then the locals window, which we can bring up, which is now at the bottom here. So if we break our code at I is equal to I minus 1, and then we run that, we can see the values of I and 1, and then if we run it again, we can see that sum is now equal to 2, and so forth if we keep running it. So now we can talk about watches, which are similar to events as they are triggered when a variable reaches a specific state. So to use watches, we're going to go up to View, and then we can select the Watch window. So I'm going to get rid of the Locals window that we just talked about. So to watch a variable, we can right-click it in our code, and we can select Add Watch. So right now we have our sum, and what we can do is we can break when this value changes. So before we do that, I'm going to get rid of our break here in the code, and I'm going to go back to our Add Watch for our sum, and we're going to break this when the value changes, and then we're going to select OK. So now what we're going to do is we are going to run our sub debug code, and we can see that it breaks at the value of sum is equal to 1. So what we can also do is we can add our watch, and instead of just watching our sum expression, we can set sum equal to a specific value. So if we set this equal to 7 and then we break when this value is true, we can get rid of our first watch that we inserted, and now we can run our debug code. So actually, I'm going to edit this watch. So if we change it to a value of 7, this might be a little bit more intuitive for us. So now when we run our sub debug code, we can see that this is true, and if we hover over I, we can see that I is still equal to 1, whereas our sum is equal to 7. So obviously our sum is running and going, that part is working as we want it, but since our I is staying as 1, we are never going to reach a value of 10, so that's where our infinite loop plays. So the last thing we're going to look at is the immediate window. So to get to this window, we can select View and then select the immediate window. So I'm going to close out our watches here. So we just have our immediate window. And now we're going to use our second sub that we have here, which is debug code 2. So the immediate window is particularly useful when we want to test a specific part of code in a lengthy program without running the entire program. So if we look at our debug code 2 sub, we can see that we have a message box running 100 times. So if we wanted to check the value of here, so check where we are inserting ABC, we would have to get out of this message box 100 times, which is, it's going to be time consuming. So for us to see if the value of ABC is inserted into the correct cell, which we think is going to say we want ABC to be in cell A2. So we want to see if cells 1, 2 dot value, if that's going to put ABC into cell A2, or if it's going to put it into cell B1, it's going to be one of those two values. So to do this, we can just copy that, and then down in our immediate window, we can paste it, and if we run that by hitting enter, we can see that the value of ABC is put into cell B1, where we want it in cell A2. So instead, if we go back to Visual Basics, if we change this to 2, 1, and we run that, we can see that now ABC is entered into cell A2, so that's where we actually want it. So if we go back up to our original code, we can change that to cells 2, 1, which will put it into cell A2, which is desired. So this immediate window that we have, it's very useful when we want to just run one line or two lines of code to double check that we're either entering it in the same spot or like in the correct spot, or if our formula is correct or anything else like that, rather than just running the entire sub that we have here. So debugging is an important and unavoidable part of coding. I hope that you found some of these tools useful when attempting to fix bugs within your code. I know that I use the immediate window a lot, as I find that one's the most useful, as well as running line by line. So that was when we went to view and we added so that was when we went to view, and in our toolbars we added our debug and we went line by line here. We're using step into. I always find that's the most useful because it allows me to see what's happening each time and just make sure that what I want to happen is doing it correctly. So when we run this line by line, we can see that after a value of 10, it's not stopping. So that would be useful rather than getting into our infinite loop just by hitting run, rather than using our line by line here toggle function.
I hope the material presented on debugging tools when using VBA tools is useful when using VBA for decision modeling. If you liked this video, please leave a like and comment, as well as subscribe to our channel. We have more content related to VBA for decision modeling in our playlist, so if you're interested in more videos, check it out. I'll see you in our next video. Bye!